Dear Stephen, the history teacher as usual. Yes, today we are going to look at the migration and the settlement into East Africa since 1000 AD. Migration and the settlement into East Africa since 1000 AD. When you talk about migration and settlement, it is all about how the different groups of people moved from different parts of the world, okay? From different parts of the world into East Africa. And among those groups we are going to look at under migration and settlement into East Africa, we have the Bantu. Then after the Bantu, we have other groups we shall look at, for example, the Luo. But today, in our first lesson, we are looking at the Bantu migration into East Africa. The Bantu migration into East Africa. And the learning outcomes by the end of this lesson, you should be able to 1. Give the background for Bantu migration. 2. Identify reasons why they moved into East Africa. Okay. You will need textbooks, pens, a notebook, internet, and the atlas. Instructions. 1. Use a handbook for senior 1 history. And then 2. Make a reference to other related books. And then 3. If possible, consult your guardian at home. Any person at home. It may be your father, your mother, your auntie, anybody can consult. And then you can make use of the internet. Use search engines like Google and then search or make research about the Bantu migration. You'll get to know each and everything concerning that very important group. So step 1, we are having the introduction. Okay. After studying this topic, you should be able to understand the origins of your own families as a result of migration and settlement of people into East Africa. In the previous chapter, you started the origin of man and the theories about the origin of man. You remember those theories we looked at, the theory of Chintu and the Nambi, the theory of the Bushman or the Bushmen. Then we have the biblical theory concerning the origin of man. And then we talked about the scientific theory. Okay. So we are saying that you noted that man did not stay in one place, but he moved from one place to another because of the environment, because of the conditions in that area which we are calling environment, where man lived. Okay, as we are going to see them later. Okay. After studying this chapter, you should be able to understand how we came to be, who we are in our present settlements. Human migration is the movement of people from one place to another because of various reasons ranging from political, social to economic. Okay? You can't move from one place and go to another place when you don't have a reason. You leave your village, you come to town when you don't have a reason. Human beings are not like that. So we move because of different reasons. And those reasons we are saying are categorized under political, social, to economic reasons, as we are going to see. Between 1000 AD to 1880 AD, East Africa became a destination of various external groupings that have come to define the composition of our ethnic groupings. Became a destination. That means that different groups of people in between this period 1000 AD to 1080 moved from different parts of the world and came to East Africa. East Africa was their final destination. And those groups we have talked about, they included the Bantu. Then we have other groups like the Luo, we have the Ngoni, and others, as we shall see them. Okay. The most prominent of these groups were the Bantu and the Luo. Okay. The most important and the known groups of people that moved to East Africa, we have that group called the Bantu and then the Luo. Okay? Yes. They arrived in East Africa almost at the same time and had related reasons for migration. The reasons were almost similar. If, for example, the Bantu migrated because of population pressure, you will still realize or find out that the Luo were also having that challenge of population pressure in their cradle land. Okay? Internal conflicts, external conflicts, both groups had the challenges, the same challenges that made them to migrate to East Africa. Okay. Now, let us look at the Bantu migration. When you talk about the Bantu migration, we are interested in knowing how they moved, okay? And came to East Africa. But who were those Bantu? We need to know who the Bantu were, okay? Who the Bantu were. What the word Bantu means. It is what we are going to look at under this. Now, the Bantu are speakers of related languages with a common word in two, NTU, in two, in quotes, meaning a person or people, okay? Related languages with a word in two, with a common root word in two, meaning a person or people. The original homeland of the Bantu is said to have been West and Central Africa. Okay? Is believed the original homeland of the Bantu is believed or said to have been. Why do we say is believed or said to have been? Because their migration took place long ago and none of us was there. Over 2,000 years back. So they are believed to have come from West African areas and Central Africa, from where they traveled to the eastern and southern regions of the continent. Eastern and southern regions of the continent. When we talk about eastern and southern regions, eastern, this is East Africa where we are. Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, okay? And the southern regions, we are talking about countries like South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, Swaziland, Botswana, and others, okay? Some Bantu moved there, and we have groups like the Zulu, the Basuto, the Sotho, the Pedi, and the others. Those are the Bantu of the southern region. Now, the Bantu were agriculturists, and they are said to have brought new technologies and skills such as cultivating high-yield crops and iron working, which produced more efficient tools and weapons. So, the activity the Bantu knew was farming. They were agriculturists. But then later, they got new skills of iron working. Okay? They involved making weapons or tools like hoes, spears, arrows, the axe, and others, which were used in cultivation and protection, then plus doing other economic activities like hunting. Okay. The Bantu are the dominant ethnic group in East Africa with several languages. Okay, with several languages. It is the biggest ethnic group. The Bantu make the biggest population of the people who are in East Africa. Okay, and we are having a map here showing the different groups of the Bantu that came to East Africa. And actually, the Bantu that came to East Africa were 5 groups. They organized themselves in 5 groups. Now, these arrows are showing the different groups and how they penetrated into East Africa. What were those 5 groups? We have the Intracastian Bantu. The Intracastian Bantu. Okay? Those ones moved between Lake Albert. Okay? Between Lake Albert and settled around Lake what? Victoria. Okay? These are the Intracastian Bantu. They prefer to settle around water bodies. We have people like the Baganda who settled here, west of what? Lake Victoria, and then others. Okay? Some other Bantu continued, as you see here. These are people like the Gisu, the Ruya. Some of them entered Kenya. Okay? Then we have another group called the Western and Central Tanzania Bantu. Okay? Western and Central Tanzania Bantu. That group passed here, okay, between Lake Albert and Lake George. Okay? That is the group. And that group gave birth to tribes like the Zinza, the Nyamwezi, the Sukuma, and the others. Then, this was the third group, who are known as the Coastal, okay? Coastal and Highland what? Bantu. Coastal and Highland Bantu. Coastal and Highland Bantu passed here, okay? They passed here, okay? From the coast, okay? From the coast, they were from areas of Somalia. Then they entered Kenya and they settled in the Kenyan hills, the hills of Kenya. We have people like the Swangwaya, the Kamba, the Chikuyu, the Embu, and the others. They are part of that group. Then down here we have the fourth group, which is known as Southern Tanzania Bantu. Southern Tanzania Bantu. The Southern Tanzania Bantu passed in between Lake Tanganyika. Lake Tanganyika is here. This is Lake Tanganyika. Okay? And between Lake Malawi. Lake Malawi is here. Okay? Which group is that? We have said it is the Southern Tanzania Bantu. Are you seeing how it is entering Tanzania? Okay? And that group gave birth to tribes like the Fipa, the Kimbu, Sangu, Hehe, and the others. Then the last group that we are seeing coming down from here, it is the group known as the Ngoni. These Ngoni came from South Africa, and it is believed that they migrated from there because of Shaka's wars. Okay? I think now, members, you have got a true picture of the Bantu we are talking about. Now, let us look at the reasons for the Bantu migration. Reasons for the Bantu migration. Why they came to East Africa. The migration of the Bantu took place between 1000 and 1500 AD. That is the period they are believed to have migrated. The migration from their homeland, Cameroon, in West Africa, that is Niger-Benue confluence. When we talk about Niger-Benue confluence, that is the place where River Niger meets with River Benue. Okay, a place where two rivers meet is known as a river confluence. So where River Niger meets River Benue, it is what we call the river confluence. So came to different parts of East Africa. Yes, came to different parts of East Africa. And we are saying that the reasons for their migration are many and known to what? Clear. Why do we say that reasons are not clear, yet we have them? It is because their migration took place way back between 1000 and 1500 AD. Okay? So historians just try to carry out research and to really find out as to why the Bantu people left their cradle land of Cameroon and came to East Africa. Some include the following. And the first one, we have population pressure. Population pressure. It is assumed that there was population increase in the cradle land of the Bantu. That was Congo and Niger basins. Okay? This overcrowding forced them to move and look for more land for settlement and agriculture. So the point means that the population in their cradle land, Congo and Niger basin, had increased. And when people are many in an area, that means economic activities like agriculture cannot take place, because agriculture needs big pieces of land for it to be carried out. And some people will not have where to settle. So they moved looking for vacant areas where they could settle and carry out agriculture. Then the next point was that of pasture and water. Okay? The Bantu kept some animals. Okay? the search for greener pastures for their livestock and water prompted them to move into East Africa. They kept animals like cattle, goats, sheep, and others. So they were moving, looking for pasture and water for such what? Animals. So we are seeing the animals here, the cattle. The cattle are on the move, okay? The cows are on the move, looking for greener pasture, okay? Greener pasture and the water, okay? Yes. Their previous grazing grounds had been exhausted, so now they had to look for fresh pastures and water. Then the other point, we have internal conflicts. These mainly came about as a result of population explosion. Land for farming became scarce, leading to the migration of the Bantu to find land for settlement and have peace in East and Southern Africa. Internal conflicts, generally, when you talk about them, they are things to do with simple quarrels, simple conflicts, and such issues normally arise because of the many people in the area. When the population explodes, such things cannot be avoided. People will quarrel, will fight, will struggle for the little land. And so the Bantu never wanted such things and decided to move because of internal conflicts. Then the other point is that of external pressure. Hostile neighboring tribes, such as the Pygmies, okay, the Pygmies, might have provoked the Bantu movement and in turn causing their migration into East Africa. The Pygmies of West Africa frequently attacked and harassed Bantu ancestors, which forced them to migrate. Okay? They were attacked by their neighbors. Their neighbors attacked them and caused insecurity in their areas. The neighbors we are talking about, we have the Pygmies, and these ones are known to be in the Congo forests. And remember, Congo is taken to be one of the cradleland of the Bantu, where the Bantu are believed to have come from. So those Pygmies really disturbed them and had to move. Then the next point, we have natural disasters. The discomfort of life to the Bantu might have been as a result of unpredicted famine, longer drought periods, and diseases. Okay? And as a consequent outcome, migration became an alternative. So they could not stand natural disasters like a drought. Okay? Drought leads to shortage of water. And remember, the Bantu were cattle keepers. They were farmers. Such activities cannot withstand drought. They have the famine. Such conditions could bring famine, diseases, and so they had to move and run away from such challenges. Then another issue is that of adventure. The spirit of adventure and curiosity to explore into unknown lands of the south might have prompted the Bantu people to develop a migratory instinct. The spiritual adventure is all about the desire to know what is beyond your homeland. And that was very common among the young people, the youth, who had a strong desire to know what was beyond their cradleland, and so ended up moving to southern and East Africa. Then the other issue that made the Bantu migrate was that of diseases. Epidemic diseases such as sleeping sickness, bilharzia, and smallpox might have been a leading cause of the migration of the Bantu. Okay. Safety was the only alternative when cattle diseases such as Nagana caused health effects in their cattle and their general health status. They had to migrate. Okay? Diseases attacked human beings and their animals. And diseases that attacked human beings in their cradleland, we have that disease called sleeping sickness. Okay? Sleeping sickness. And the sleeping sickness is caused by, I think, tsetse flies. Then bilharzia, that water, and then smallpox. Okay? That attacked human beings. And some of them died. The remaining Bantu decided to move to safe areas, and that is East and Southern Africa. Then we have drought. Effects of prolonged drought posed difficulties not only to the animals but also the inhabitants. Crop production too became a challenge, and therefore the Bantu had to move for new and better farming land. Okay? Farming could not go on in dry areas. Drought posed that challenge. Cattle keeping could not go on. So they had to look for new and better farming areas which were free from drought. It can therefore be concluded that no single factor was a primary cause in the migration pattern of the Bantu people to different parts of what? East Africa. What we are meaning there, all the factors were very important. We cannot say that it was drought that made them to move. We can't say that it was diseases. We can't say that it was adventure. We can't say that it was internal conflicts, external conflicts, population pressure, natural disasters, and others. All the factors were important when they are combined. Okay. So, a combination of factors contributed to their migration. So, members, that is that about the factors or reasons for the Bantu migration. Now, let us look at the cause of the Bantu migration. The cause of the Bantu migration. When we talk about the cause, we are interested in knowing how the Bantu moved from their cradleland to their new destinations. Okay? And actually, the cause is the same as migration and the settlement. How different groups of people like the Bantu migrated from West African areas of Congo, Cameroon, and then came to East Africa. That is what we are going to look at. The Bantu migration happened in Africa, starting from southern West Africa and slowly spreading southwards to finally reach South Africa. The Bantu people from their origins in southern West Africa slowly moved through the central, eastern, and the southern parts of Africa. Okay? They moved slowly. Okay? The movement was a slow and gradual process. Why are we saying that they moved slowly? They moved with all their properties, the cattle, the children, and then other things they had. Okay? So you find that the means of transporting such things was not easy for them. That is why their movement took a slow pace. Okay. Starting in the mid-second millennium BCE and finally ending before 1500 CE. That is around 2000 years ago. Okay? That is what their movement took. The Bantu brought new technologies and skills with them, such as cultivating high-yield crops and ironworking, which produced more efficient tools and weapons. Okay? When they were moving, they moved with those new skills of making iron implements and new skills of cultivating, as we are going to see. Eventually, the Bantu controlled, with the exception of South Africa and the Namibia Desert, the entire African continent, south of a line crossing from southern Nigeria to Kenya. Okay? And about 500 languages spoken today in the massive area are a result of the Proto-Bantu language. Okay? So we are saying that most of the languages that are spoken in most parts of Africa, and in particular East Africa, were as a result of the Bantu migration. Okay? Let us look at the results of the Bantu migration. The first one, they introduced ironwork in East Africa. Ironwork, and results of Bantu migration. Results are effects. Results are effects, and the effects are consequences. Okay? So the first one is saying they introduced ironwork in East Africa. Ironwork is ironworking in East Africa. This helped in production of iron tools for agriculture and security, for example, spears and arrows that protected them as they settled in East Africa. Okay? So when we talk about ironworking, we are seeing a picture of the Bantu doing some ironworking. Are you seeing the human beings? There is a man here. There is one stood here. There is another one here. Then there is one here. What do you think these people are doing? Okay? They are doing what we have explained here. They are doing ironworking. Okay? They are making iron tools. And our iron tools made, they first of all put them in fire. They burn them. And then they do what? They soften a bit, and then afterwards make implements out of them. So there is fire here. We are seeing fire. And this gentleman is now trying to make a tool or a weapon from a material that has been burnt in the fire. Okay? So this gentleman is blowing the fire from this side. And this is the fire, and it comes when it is very hot. Okay. Then secondly, the Bantu caused the population increase, stroke explosion in East Africa. This was as a result of intermarriages with the societies they found in East Africa. Okay, They caused the population increase. They intermarried with the people, they married them, okay, and then produced many what? People. So the end result was population increase. Then thirdly, they introduced the growing of food crops, okay, the growing of food crops like yams, cassava, beans, sweet potatoes, among others. This was as a result of discovery of iron tools, especially the hoes that were used in the cultivation of the crops we are talking about here. Yams, cassava, beans, okay? And they increased the activity because people were no longer using hands, but the hoes were really using the work, and ended up introducing the growing of such crops. Then we have a picture here. We have talked about the growing of crops, okay, and the new systems of farming. Are we seeing the crops and the way they are grown? They even dig trenches. They could dig trenches where the water was flowing. So with that kind of farming, that style of planting crops, the crops can even withstand the dry seasons, because this area where they plant crops cannot easily get what? Dry, because of the water that is moving in these trenches, as you are seeing there. Okay. New methods of agriculture were introduced in East Africa. For example, shifting cultivation, zero grazing, mulching, and irrigation. These were common, especially among the Chaga people. Shifting cultivation was their thing. It is what they used to do best. Planting crops from one place, and when that place lost fertility, they could move to a new what? A new place. Okay? Then mulching involved covering the crops to keep water in the soil and maintain the fertility. Then number 5, the Bantu introduced mixed farming as they kept some animals, especially the short-horned cattle. Okay? Mixed farming involved growing crops alongside keeping animals. You have your cows in the home, like 5, 10, and at the same time, you are doing farming. So the Bantu introduced that style of what? Farming. Okay? And up to now, many people are still embracing it. Then number 6, the new languages were introduced among them. For example, we have Luganda among the Baganda, Lusoga among the Basoga in eastern Uganda, Lunyankole among the Banyankole in western Uganda. All of them using the word in their dialects. So what we are meaning here, that these languages are slightly related. You can't, for example, go to Busoga, where people have never spoken in Uganda, and you fail to ask for food in Uganda. Okay? You'll ask for food in Uganda, and Musoga will hear what you have said, will understand what you have said. The same thing in western Uganda with the Banyankole. Okay? A Munyankole can come here and communicate well with the Baganda, go to Busoga, communicate like that. So that is what we are meaning there. Then, the Bantu absorbed the cultures of some non-Bantu people they found settled in those areas. For example, among the Bagisu, they learned circumcision, the age-set system, pastoral culture, among others. Absorb the cultures of non-Bantu. When you talk about absorbing, it was to do with making the cultures of different people they found in the areas where they settled lose or forget the cultures they were practicing. And then later on, the Bantu also learned some of the things that those cultures were practicing. Okay? For example, we are talking about circumcision, age-set system, pastoral culture, among others. Then number 8, they introduced new types of building, new building styles. They built round grass thatched huts. Before this, people they found settled were living in caves. New styles of building that involved the putting in place permanent, semi-permanent structures. But before the Bantu moving to those areas where they settled, people were living in caves like animals. So for them, they started a new system of building grass-thatched structures. As you can see, this structure was built using grass. Okay, this is what we call the grass thatched hut. Okay, and you are even seeing another one. This is the door. Okay, that is how they could make the doors for their houses. Then 9, they fought many wars with the local people in East Africa. This left a lot of property destroyed and lives as a result of the massive death of what? People in East Africa. For example, the Nguni fought with the Yawas in Tanganyika. One thing we need to know about the Bantu were muscular people. Muscular, tall, and strong people. So they easily fought the weak and the small groups of people they found settled in East Africa. A case in point, we have the Nguni or the Ngoni who were coming from Southern Africa. They were warlike a group. They fought almost all the groups they found in the way on their way to East Africa. Okay? We are giving the example of the Yao and others. And in the end, a lot of property and lives were destroyed or lost. Then, new fighting tactics and weapons were introduced in East Africa. They used the short stabbing spear, which was also known as assegai, and the cow horn formation, which was successful and new to East Africans. New tactics of fighting, new weapons. The short stabbing spear we are talking about was a very strong weapon that had worked for the Zulu in Southern Africa during the wars they fought with their neighbors. During the time of Shaka, and that weapon was introduced by Shaka. It was the short stabbing spear. It was a short spear which replaced the traditional long throwing spear. So the one having the short stabbing spear was not supposed to throw it. He was supposed to get close to the enemy and shoot or kill. Okay? Then the cow horn formation as a new tactic introduced in East Africa. This one involved engulfing Engulfing is like encircling the enemy, putting the enemy in the circle, and then you fight using the assegai, the short stabbing spear. That was a new tactic of fighting known among the Zulu in southern Africa. But with the migration of the Ngoni, okay, they moved along with such tactics and weapons that were destructive in East Africa. Then, point 11, they introduced barter trade system in East Africa. Barter trade system in East Africa. They bartered items like mats, pots, foods, and spears among themselves and their communities. Barter system involves exchanging a good for a good. It does not involve exchanging a good for money. But if you have a pot, for example, you can exchange it for a mat. If you have a mat, for example, you can exchange it for food. If you have spears, for example, you can exchange them for pots. That is what we call the barter system of what? Trade. And in the picture below, we are seeing barter trade system taking place. I'm seeing a woman here having bunches of matoke. This bunch, there is this one down also. Then another lady is having a goat. This is a goat. Okay? So this lady is exchanging her goat for matoke. And this one is also exchanging a matoke for a goat. That is what we call barter trade. Then, this old woman is also coming in with other items. You can see she's carrying those items at the back. Okay? Then other communities, you can see they are coming in to look for items. This one came using this camel. Okay? Is looking for items in the market. So that barter trade system was introduced by the Bantu. Then they introduced the centralized form of administration. This later came to be common in East Africa. Igi, it worked in Buganda, Ankole, and Bunyoro. The centralized system involved having a top leader, a leader on top of administration. For example, a king or a chief. So they introduced that system of having chiefs and kings in East Africa. It is still maintained up to date. When you look at kingdoms like Buganda, they have kings. Kingdoms like Busoga, they have a king. Then others. Then we are done with the Bantu. Let us now look at yet another topic. Okay? Another topic after looking at the what? The Bantu. After looking at the Bantu. Okay? The next topic we are looking at is that of values and cultural practices in our families. Values and cultural practices in our families. Now, after studying this lesson, you should be able to understand the concept of culture and people's relations in East Africa. In the previous lesson about migrations of people into East Africa, you learned about causes and results of this migration. One of these effects was introduction and adoption of new cultures. As new ethnic groups moved and settled in different areas, you will appreciate at the end the existence of different cultural values and practices among people. For example, the way of dressing, the food they eat, the traditional ceremonies they carry out, the dances, and the importance of cultural youth camps in East Africa. You also learn about some key ethnic groups in East Africa, and all these will help you understand the importance of respecting each other's ethnic background. Okay? In our schools, for example, we interact with people from various cultural, racial, and ethnic groups. This enables us build bonds to trust, respect, and understand across our cultures. When we learn about different ethnic groups, we understand the world around us and beyond, and at the same time appreciate our diversity and how it contributes to our own development. So members, that is why we are going to look at values and culture practices. We have a diagram here about culture, okay? And how culture transforms or transcends into different things, okay? It is because of culture that we have things like beliefs. When you talk about beliefs or a belief, it is something you accept as true, okay? That, for example, in Uganda, girls kneel down before elders. You take it as a belief. Then we have the language that is spoken, okay? We have the customs. It is also part of culture. And what are customs? Okay? When you talk about a custom, it is a way of behaving which a particular group or society has had for a long time. That is the custom. Then we have the rituals. Okay? Rituals. And rituals are all about ceremonies or a process which is always done the same way. Okay? Something that is done again and again. It becomes a ritual. Then culture, under culture, we also have behavior. We have religion or faith, the God you believe in, and the activities that follow. For example, going to church, reading the Bible, and the others. Then we have food, we have art, drama, stroke music, and then we have the attitudes. Okay? The attitudes. Okay? Attitude. It is all about the way you behave, the way you think, and the way you feel. Okay? Hope I've explained well that one. Then, cultural values are the core principles and ideals upon which an entire community exists. This is made up of several parts. For example, we have the traditional customs, rituals, values, traditional beliefs, and the cultures, which are guiding values for the community and the families. I've already elaborated on some of these core principles: culture, norms, values, traditional beliefs, and cultures. And hope now you understand what I'm talking about. Cultural values and hereditary and transcend from one generation to generation. Okay? Transcend from generation to generation. Okay? Cultural values are hereditary. That means they are inherited. Okay? If a Muganda produces a girl, that girl is supposed to grow knowing that a good woman kneels before elders. Is supposed to behave well. Okay? That is hereditary. You inherit it from your mother and from members of your family. So it moves from generation to generation. Okay? Then the values hold supreme position among families. They define the character of children born from that home. There is global matching and relatedness of family values. Global matching and relatedness of family values. That means that family values are supposed to be similar, are related, are the same. When children of one family are well behaved, that is also expected from children of another family. And we are saying that is why the UNESCO is encouraging global citizenship. Global citizenship. Actually, we have heard people saying that we are in one village. The world is one village. That is what we mean by a global village. These values give a shape to the culture and traditions of society. These are very difficult to change because they remain as a key feature of our social institutions and social norms. Individually, we have some sense of value taught and nurtured into us by the societal value system we have been brought through. African culture is expressed in our art and crafts, folklore, and the religion. When you talk about folklore, this one here, this word here, it is to do with traditional stories and the beliefs. This one, it means traditional beliefs and the stories. Okay? Yes. Then different people, the way different people dress, the clothing. Then we have the cuisine. Cuisine. What's the meaning of the word cuisine? In my own understanding, cuisine, it is all about a style of cooking in a particular society or country. It may be in a restaurant, it may be in a home, generally a society. That is cuisine. That is also different in the African setting. Then music and languages. Expressions of culture are common within East Africa, with the cultural diversity being found not only across different countries, but also within single countries. African tradition is also expressed through many different art forms such as music, dance art, sculptures, and beadwork. Then other crafts are made from local materials such as papyrus, reeds, clay, and wood. When we talk about art and craft, this is a picture, a diagram of art and craft showing 3 ladies, okay? One carrying a baby, there is another baby standing, and then they are carrying pots and a calabash, okay? This is the art. It's a nice piece, okay? Yes, Uganda has got a very strong cultural heritage with a number of regions with kingdoms that describe different tribes and their culture. And these include Buganda, Ankole, Bunyolo, among others. Okay? Yes. Different tribes, regions with the kingdoms that describe different cultures. So, in the map of Uganda, we have these different kingdoms that are talked about. We have Bunyolo here, we have Lango, we have Acholi, Tolo, Ankole here, Buganda, Busoga, Teso, and the others as we see them on the map. Yes, in our societies, we celebrate different festivals on special days in the year and offer sacrifices to certain deities to attract their goodwill to our members of the family and the society. Okay? We celebrate different festivals on special days. When you talk about festival, it is all about to do with the plays, a series of plays, film, music performance, and others. You find that such things are carried out in different areas in East Africa on specific days. All of that is culture. Traditional economic values is marked by communal work, where, for example, in farming, friends and relatives come and assist in doing farm work. Not because they will be paid, but will need such assistance in the near future. And they will be sure to get it. Okay? That system where you go and assist the neighbor with the digging, then the next week the neighbor comes to your garden. Okay? That is what we call traditional economic values. Okay? Traditionally, the people of East Africa used to work in teams. They could come together, work as a group in one's garden, then after they move in another person's garden. Okay. I want to thank you for listening. I remain Kasirye Stephen, the history